if an accountant is making a decision of your user experience or product development in your company, boy, you're in trouble. So that is the reason that we need to talk about payments and banking. I started as a tax consultant in Cyprus 20 years ago, and Cyprus just joined the EU, and everybody wanted to incorporate the company, which is optimizing the taxes in a nice environment. 20 years ago, there was no problem around payments and banking. You just called the bank, opened an account, started to transact internationally, and life was easy. But when my clients came to me more and more about, okay, I understand, Victoria, that the tax disappears miraculously, but what are we going to do with the banks? How am I going to find a payment provider who is willing to work with me? That's when I realized that things are really changing. And 20 years later, we are talking about compliance more than, in my opinion, we should. I understand that the international banking and taxation is a burden for everyone because now everybody became global and international transactions just flying, and we do need to safeguard the international financial system. But now we need to have a completely different approach to payments and banking. Today, payments and banking affect every part of your organization. It affects the user experience. It affects the technology, the integration, the product. So you cannot just look at payments and banking as a side function of finance. And the majority of the problem comes that whoever is dealing with payments and banking tasks in your organization, they are just not trained to do so. Why? Because there is no training on payments and banking. You can be trained on technology, you can be trained on data security, you can be an economist, you can be an accountant like me, but we don't know anything about what is open banking, what is instant payment, what is overall compliance. And if an accountant is making a decision of your user experience or product development in your company, boy, you're in trouble. So that is the reason that we need to talk about payments and banking. That is the reason I started my consultancy, I started the Institute for educating people, and this is one of the reasons that we need to talk about payment and banking issues to open the eyes that you do need to have a whole paradigm change. And you need to plan your payments and banking and build your organization around it, not the other way around. Eventually, all banks become tech companies and eventually innovate enough that they adopt all that ease of use, the customer service, the innovation, because they have the robust opportunity and financial backing to do so. And what I've seen that majority of the successful fintech companies eventually become banks, talking about Revolut or TransferWise. My clients, they are just unaware of what are the different options out there for them. They open a bank account 20 years ago, they agreed on a fee, terms and conditions, and don't rock the boat. As long as it's working, they know us, they know our transactions, they know our clients, they're not going to give us any headache. Do not change anything because it's working. This approach obviously gives an entry barrier for the fintechs to break it through. Even though that you are quicker, cheaper, more available, more customer friendly, people are a bit wary when it comes to trusting a new financial institution to handle their money. And I've seen so many times that it's a new company, it's only 1 year old. I don't want to be the one who is testing out their services. What if they go down? What if my money goes down with it? And obviously there are regulations, so there are limits of how the money can disappear. But this is still a very valid concern about the mass adoption, which is still far away.